by the people, for the people, the gathering to get health care now. Poems. It was not just the orange he let rot. He watched an orange rot, but never touched it. He walked past it every morning and almost took it, almost dug his fingers into its rippled flesh, almost tore into the meat of it, but the last moment he changed his mind. Each time he passed his hand over it, he saw it quiver. But rather than take it, he made a fist. No, maybe tomorrow, he said. Maybe I'll take it tomorrow, when my mood is oranges, when I feel like lust. But he never took it. He left it in the crystal bowl. One day, when he saw that it didn't quiver, when he saw that it was going to sag and whiten, he shut his eyes. And every day after, he held his breath. And what had been bright, supple, and full of tart juices that would burst in his face and burn the corners of his mouth was greening and becoming putrid, waiting on his last two-fingered, head-turned grip, a touch that would complete the final ritual. But he couldn't. Death and garbage didn't become him, so he covered it with a paper towel and moved its crystal bowl to the porch. Alice took it away and washed the bowl, and she gave him that little sideways, narrowed-eyed look and never said a word. She didn't have to. They'd been together a long time, maybe too long, maybe through too many silent circumstances. He doesn't know. When they married, she was beautiful, something to look at, someone to look at. Her blushed face and lace-covered bodice drew him, but he didn't touch her because it wasn't right. It wasn't enough for him to feel her vibrations, smell her powders, watch the red on her lips. One day before he really knew what was happening, she began to be less particular about how they would look together, not really concerned about his admiration. He could tell she had begun to have doubts about the things people see, like seeing was somehow not enough, like it was the cause of something, a miasma, and he too began to doubt. Now they just live in the same house. They talk sometimes, but not often. She buys oranges and puts them into the crystal bowl, but he never touches them. Never. Write for money. Yeah. Yes. Write for money. That way you're certain it'll be published, but write it well in the popular genre. And the paper merchants will pay you. Do what's necessary to become a published author, one who tells others the ins and outs of the business. But of course, the joke is on you, the novice. Just lunch for a publisher. A lamb with mint jelly, sliced and sent back to the kitchen to be cooked again. You should do it for the emotion, the feelings, like when you masturbate. In that way, at least, have a good memory. Or do it for love, so she might give you a good blowjob. But to do it for money is so Republican, like a printer's devil, neither creator nor producer. A middleman who dresses up worn-out words from the past. Write because you need to write. Throw it into the air and let the wind spread it around. Pray that no one reads it. But if they do, Let them think they wrote it. Zen. I don't have AIDS, but I'd soon have it as what I have, a pen and no real courage. Write and talk, hide and think, avoid people who carry signs. I woke up at 4 a.m. afraid I'd forgotten something. Then I got angry because I cared. I was puzzled because I couldn't get in touch with nothing. When it comes to Zen, I'm a diseased cynic. Maybe I'll get a rash. And afterward, nothing will matter. When I wake at 4 a.m., it'll be the itch, not the stirring of my cowardly brain. I will have lived in the present and not put off my life thinking, talking, and writing. Sand and gold. I think sand is as good as money, but I'm almost alone in that thought, except for a few people who know about sand. Most people think gold and silver and odd scarce things are the money. There's more sand than gold and silver and odd scarce things. And not having sand, unlike not having the would-be money, does not make anyone poor. I don't think the world will change. I think gold and silver and odd scarce things will continue to be the people's choice for money. The poor will guard this money with their lives for the benefit of the rich and for the illusions of gain. The rich and the poor will ignore the sand until land must be raised, a river held back, a caste poured, time measured, water filtered, or any of the 1,000 common uses for sand that make life abundant and joyful, but neither odd nor scarce. Pilate for governor. Pilate wasn't joking. He didn't know the truth. He could be elected today. He could be governor of Texas. People look up to a man who's broad-minded and quick to handle business. There's always plenty of prophets thumping on books and pointing out the obvious. But not many men can wash over the details and get on with business. Beat a Jew, kill a few protesters, keep commerce moving. Truth just gets in the way. It's not efficient. Yes, Pilate could be elected governor. That is, if Texans really wanted one. The dead. I know people who are dead. I know them as well as I know those who are alive. Yet I don't know the living like I know the dead. I expected Joe to die. We talked and laughed beforehand. I cried a little at his graveside funeral. It rained too, just enough to cool the ground and keep down the flames before Joe got his bearing. It was different when Norman died. He was only 48, and I was young. I didn't know a dead man. Norman was a serious person who thought people ought and should and could and would, that they were called. Norman said to go as far as you can and then let God carry you. That way, he said, when you die, it'll be peaceful. He was right. But it didn't rain at his grave, and I cried too much. And there was nothing to cool the earth. No one should touch God, even if he'll let you. Rex never expected to die. He never went near God. So he thought he was safe. He too was 48. He trusted doctors, but it did no good. There was no funeral service, no ground to cry over, no earth to cool. Belief is everything. Rex never forgave his ex-wife for their marriage. He loved his children too much for a man who lived in one room. We drank a glass of whiskey in that room. We talked of Norman. Rex said God touched Norman. Norman died. It made Rex shudder. Like Rex, Bill had no funeral service. Before he died, he refused to wear any clothes. He stopped talking to Ann. On the last day, I helped carry him on a stretcher from his house to an ambulance. They took Bill to the hospital and stored him in a room. I sat next to his bed and listened to his attempts to breathe. I think he must have said, "There, we're even." Then he expired. I picked up his ashes from the crematorium. I remember thinking, somebody should have said something. Bill had hidden from God for a long time, but finally had given up. Ashes, ashes all fall down. The ground was hot, but what could flames do to ashes? A new day. I'm awakened each day by Jeannie, and together we recreate the universe. Everything that was comes back as a copy, and everything that will be surges into my eternity. The tune I play each day is my life. Wherever I leave out, I lose. If a morning comes and I awake alone, the universe will die. Everything that was will cease to be, and darkness and silence will envelop me. About freedom and straw men. The straw men who make the flags that give them courage have waved their courage before a house of cards. The kings and queens and all the ranks of men have fallen on either side of a pointless debate about the quality of freedom. They are all so deadly serious. They cannot joke with you. You cannot tell them as plainly as the great and fearless Henry Thoreau that all governments are sometimes inexpedient and lack the vitality and force of a single living man. They are all too deadly serious. Tomorrow, what they hold sacred in a flag may be wrapped around a demon who will devour them. These straw men, whose courage waves above a house of cards, follow the man who stokes the fires, while all the people around him burn their flags and sew patches to their shirts as new symbols of their intelligence. When the demon comes and the TV stations record their songs, we will be amused. But now, no one laughs.